Story 1. Cigarettes cost €18.50 for 20 here in Ireland. I was spending €5,000 per year on poison. It has been 8 months since my last smoke. Story 2. Fast food has become pointless when, for just $2 more, I can go to a real restaurant and have a much better meal with service and atmosphere. Story 3. I quit buying new cars and went back to older models. Mostly because of the excessive technology and fragile features that dealerships offer, but also due to the cost. Story 4. La Croix sparkling water. I really enjoy it, but it adds up and I can easily drink 4 or 5 cans in a day. Story 5. Food at restaurants. I have learned to cook and have not eaten out at a restaurant in over 3 years. I have lost weight and feel better because of it. Story 6. Any console video game over $60. I am not paying half the price of the console for a video game, and there really isn't any good justification for charging more than $60, especially with microtransactions included in almost every game nowadays. At that point, I would rather just buy it on Steam and play it on my computer. Story 7. Going out to eat. When my wife and I started dating and well into our marriage, we went out every weekend. We are both pretty health conscious and eat healthy all week long. We enjoyed a little splurge on the weekends. The last several times we have gone out, it has not been a good experience and does not feel like it is worth it anymore. I can make better food at home and have great lunches as leftovers throughout the week. Story 8. I would never buy a new car. They are all overpriced and drop more than 20% in the first year. I stopped using major phone company plans. I have the same unlimited plan as my mother's Verizon plan. I just pay $17 per month versus $150 per month for her. Story 9. I can afford almost anything I want, but I refuse to pay for streaming services because they are all poor quality and not worth the money. Story 10. Cigarettes. I didn't quit for my health. I don't care about that. I quit because they cost way too much money, and vaping is much cheaper. Story 11. Gift bags, cards, gift wrap, and similar items are reused from previous occasions. We write our own cards. My son recently received a birthday present in a cool mom bag. I was in a rush going to a birthday party for one of my son's friends, so I had to buy a bag from the store. There was not a single option under $5 for a plain color paper bag. What is going on, Target? Story 12. Let me start by saying I'm frugal. I've given up buying new clothes. I mostly shop at Goodwill now. Food delivery is a waste of money and laziness. I pick up food myself or cook at home. Restaurants are for special occasions only. Ride-sharing services are only for when absolutely necessary. I prefer to walk, bike, use the metro, or drive myself since I live in a major city. Streaming services. I have a Spotify and Hulu deal for $12 per month, and I use friends' and family's accounts for the rest. Premium wireless service. I pay $15 per month for 5 gigabytes with Mint Mobile. Story 13. Impulse shopping in general. I stick more closely to a budget and have a budget category specifically for shopping therapy. Story 14. Domino's Pizza. After delivery fee and tip, a large pie was nearly $45. Meanwhile, a frozen pizza costs about $12, and buying the ingredients to make your own is less. Story 15. Any sought-after sporting event or concert. You can still see small acts and like Major League Baseball or Major League Soccer games for a reasonable price, but any somewhat popular musical act or highly sought-after sporting event like a National Football League game, you are not getting in for less than $300. If you want a ticket that does not disappoint, it will be $500. I could still afford to go to a few a year if I chose, but it is expensive enough that it is just not worth it anymore. I would rather go to the beach for free and spend the $500 on something nice. Story 16. Games Workshop Warhammer 40,000 miniatures. One model retails for the same price as what a box set used to retail for, and restaurant food. For example, Subway's 6-inch sub sells for about $10, and a foot-long is about $16. A combination sandwich is $20 to $22. I am not paying that for a sandwich. Story 17. Bullets. I learned to reload after the last "they are coming for our guns" panic. I do competitive long-range shooting, And the round I am firing costs up to $5 each, so reloading is the only way I can keep shooting. I can reload them for under $1 each. Story 18. 1. Professional sporting events. Parking at the stadium can cost nearly $60. Concessions are overpriced, and the tickets themselves are expensive. 2. Going out for lunch. I developed the habit of making my own lunches during the COVID-19 pandemic and never went back. When a Burger King hamburger, fries, and a soda cost $20 and you eat that or anything similar 4 to 5 times a week, the expenses add up. Could I afford to do both? Yes, but I simply cannot justify it in my own mind. Story 19. Movie tickets. There is nothing that I cannot wait for until it is on cable or one of the 2 streaming services we have. Story 20. Years ago, I quit smoking and drinking due to health and cost reasons. Sometime later, I started buying much less meat and cheese because of the expense. I never really got into buying new clothes aside from socks and underwear. I damage my clothing often, so it's really pointless to buy new items. Over time, clothes also became more expensive, and quality dropped significantly. If I need something, I shop in secondhand stores. Due to high costs, I never got into paying for vacations in other places like traveling to exotic locations. It's way too expensive for poor food and questionable service. Story 21. Barbershops. I cut my own hair. I do not remember the last time I went to a barber. Television, cable, and Wi-Fi. I do not own a television, nor do I want to. Everything is on streaming services anyway, so I use my phone for that. Because I use my phone, I do not pay for Wi-Fi either. I just have unlimited data instead. I have not missed it. Game consoles. They are way too expensive, and I was never a fan of playing online with strangers. I just download emulators to my phone. Story 22. Delivery services for food. Sushi last night for my wife and me to be delivered would have been an extra $15. I do not know the last time I paid for food to be delivered instead of going to pick it up myself. Story 23. Hookers. You would think that thing was made of gold. Did I get your attention? I have not cut back on much that I can think of. I do not go out to eat very often anymore. It is not so much the cost. I just have no one to go with these days. I am kind of old, so most friends have passed on or are in nursing homes. Story 24. I almost never eat out or buy coffee outside because it is too expensive and I am a good cook. This morning, I bought a flat white coffee and a donut because I was traveling and hungry. Cost me about 15 New Zealand dollars. That is too expensive. Story 25. Most fast food and chain eateries are not worth it. If I am going to pay a minimum of $20 for a meal, I might as well go somewhere nice or at least local. I can stuff myself at the local diner for the same price it would cost to grab a pizza or go to a fast food restaurant. Also, frozen food is too expensive. I can freeze my own food, thank you. Buy a small 3-foot chest freezer. It will pay for itself in about 2 months. Story 26. I've purchased my last new car. I know it has always been a bad investment financially, but I enjoy getting exactly the options I want and not worrying about how others may have treated the car. However, the price is not worth it anymore. I can buy a used model and customize it to my specifications for less. Haircuts. I recently asked my wife to start cutting my hair. It is free and she does a decent job. Alcohol. I drink maybe 1 beer a month, if that. Story 27. Underwear and socks. Every pair I own is just barely hanging on by a thread. One day, I will feel the happiness of opening a fresh pair of either. Story 28. Beer costs $12 for a mid-tier 6-pack and $7 to $8 per pint at a restaurant. Cheaper beer is available, but it is not worth drinking or paying for in my opinion. Story 29. Not completely, but cutting down on fast food and streaming. I would have cut Netflix if it were not for World Wrestling Entertainment Raw. Story 30. I get my hair cut really short, grow it out for about 2.5 months, then repeat. On the first day photo, I look like I joined the army. On the last day, it looks like I was stranded on an island somewhere. Story 31. Used to go out to eat at sit-down restaurants at least once, sometimes twice on the weekend, and once during the week. Now, maybe once a month. Story 32. Subscription services. No fast food or carry-out. Beef jerky. I cook mostly from scratch and make my own jerky now. Story 33. This may seem minor, but it is the first thing I thought of. Chex Mix at gas stations and convenience stores. I love it and used to get it all the time. I travel a lot. It used to be $2 for a big bag. Now it is $5 for a small bag. Story 34. I have cut out almost all fast food. I wanted to eat more healthily, and the fall in quality along with huge price increases made it easier. Now there are only some niche quality places I might go to 4 times per year. Story 35. Eating out in general, Nando's specifically. Last time I paid £25 for a plate of chips, 2 pieces of chicken, and a Coke. I could buy 5 whole chickens for that much. I just can't justify spending that kind of money on an average meal. Every restaurant I go to is fine, and I haven't had a great meal in a restaurant in so long I can hardly remember. Yesterday, I cooked a Wagyu burger from Aldi in an air fryer, and it was the best burger I've had in about 15 years. I'm fed up with paying top dollar for food that never gets above average. What's the point? Story 36. Restaurants, for the most part, are very expensive compared to cooking at home. Just learn a few good recipes that you like using relatively cheap groceries, and you will save a lot of money. Compared to food delivery services, the difference is even more significant. I still go out with family for events, but I cook at home 98% of the time. It is much harder to cook at home if you work far away or have a long commute, but the cost savings are impressive. Story 37. Fast food. McDonald's meal, $17. Five Guys burger, drink, and fries, $25. Sit-down steak meal at the local Tex-Mex place with tip, $25. Morton's Steakhouse, $150. When you factor in your time to actually go pick up food or eat out versus cooking at home, honestly, there is minimal difference. The price difference is significant. I can spend family time while cooking and eating. Story 38. I would have said McDonald's, but actually had one yesterday, which was the first in over a year due to my partner getting home late and our regular takeaways closing on a Tuesday. So expensive that I consider it a waste of money. I can get pizza and chips for the whole family and have enough leftovers for lunch the following day for 10 to 15 pounds cheaper than McDonald's. Even worse, I didn't really enjoy it. The chips were dry and lukewarm. The burger was okay, I guess. It really reinforced my opinion. I think a lot of fast food places have gone this way. Subway is extremely expensive, and last time I went to Kentucky Fried Chicken, I was shocked at how little food I received. Story 39. The unremarkable everyday soda is too expensive and not healthy for daily consumption. I still buy soda, but I choose better kinds that are harder to find and enjoy them instead of drinking them out of habit. I have a sweet tooth, but Kinder products are too expensive and come in small packages. I switched a long time ago from multi-blade razors to the old-school one-blade kind. They are cheaper and, for me, better. Story 40. Subway foot-long meal. 12-inch wheat bread, rotisserie chicken, pepper jack cheese, toasted, spinach, tomato, cucumber, green peppers, a few banana peppers, ranch dressing, Sun Chips garden salsa, and a drink. Price, $17. I just cannot when there are better lunch options for similar money. Story 41. When I first started eating at Subway, I could get a footlong with cookies and a drink for well under 10 Australian dollars. Depending on the store, one with chicken can be nearly 20 Australian dollars on its own today. Their prices have become unreasonable. It is just a bread roll with vegetables, cheese, and meat. Story 42. Professional sports games usually involve spending unnecessary money on poor seats, parking, and food inside the stadium. I would rather eat filet and lobster or great sushi on my couch in front of the television. Story 43. Fast food and soda, which is a win-win honestly. It was a temptation when it was cheap. Now it is not. Story 44. I used to eat out at inexpensive places, spending €8 for a Chinese menu and €10 for a pizza, 2 times a week. Nowadays, I go out 3 times a month. Story 45. Nothing yet. The place where I buy all my clothes has started to become very expensive. Story 46. Haircuts. When the pandemic hit, I got a clipper and started doing my own haircuts. Not amazing, but it gets the job done. Edges could be cleaner in the back. I used to pay $25 plus tip. I checked again recently at my old barbershop, and now it is like $40 to $50 for a standard haircut. Other higher-end services go up to $100. It is ridiculous. Story 47. I do not use Federal Express or United Parcel Service anymore to ship out-of-state gifts. Amazon offers free shipping straight to their door with gift wrapping. Story 48. PlayStation Plus. Renewed mine back in December for $80 for a year. Haven't even played any online games. All the games I've been playing are single-player games. I think I tried out Marvel Rivals for about 15 minutes. That's it for online gaming. The majority of the free games are low quality. It's just not worth it for that price to have it just in case I'm in the mood. I'm sure Xbox Live is not any cheaper. I will not be renewing again in December, but will probably renew whenever Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out. Story 49. When barbers started charging more than $50 for a haircut, I started cutting my own hair. Eventually, my wife taught herself from YouTube videos, so now she cuts my hair. Story 50. I only buy movie tickets for films that deserve to be seen in theaters, like Dune or Oppenheimer. Otherwise, I wait for the streaming services. Story 51. Steak dinner has gone from once a month to a few times a year. Meanwhile, my boss, who also complains about how little money he has, keeps bragging that his child, technically a 20-year-old adult male, can taste the difference between the brands in stores where the steak was bought and refuses to eat if it is the wrong one. Yes, they eat steak several times a week. Yes, I am bitter. Story 52. Haircuts cost $25. For a men's haircut, I bought a pair of clippers for $20 and do it myself. Story 53. Consoles, PlayStation Plus, and Xbox are charging high prices just to play online. I switched to PC and Steam and never looked back. Story 54. Disposable razors, including other relevant products. I just use a rechargeable trimmer now and only buy items if I really need a close shave for something important. Story 55. I can count on one hand the number of times I've gone to a sit-down restaurant in a year, usually on birthdays for me, my wife and son, and on my wedding anniversary. I get takeout slightly more, maybe once a month on average. I sometimes crave something specific from takeout, especially Chinese food, but since I'm a pretty good cook, I always end up stopping at a store instead and picking up something to make at home. As my wife keeps reminding me, I can make food faster, cheaper, and way tastier than just about any restaurant. When McDonald's costs $40 for 3 people and any other takeaway place wants a 20% tip just for putting my food in a bag, and an average restaurant bill for 3 adults at a mid-range place goes close to $100 without cocktails or wine, I'm out. I don't even know what a fancy steak place would cost for the 3 of us, but I can cook steak on my charcoal grill that's 10 times better than any restaurant for less than $60. I can also drink a bottle of $30 wine I only paid $10 for while I make it. Story 56. It is not so much the rising financial costs but more the cost of time. I never play my PlayStation for any more since I have had children. Every time I turn it on to play something, there is an hour of updates. Story 57. I cannot justify buying Magic, the Gathering cards anymore. The price increases in the last 5 years have made collecting Warhammer models a cheaper hobby than collecting Magic cards, which still surprises me. Story 58. Women went from appearing frequently to only occasionally. I have missed the social life, but my bank balance is not too bad. Story 59. I have generally stopped buying alcohol. I have cut way back on soda. I do not go to concerts as often anymore. I went to a movie a few weeks ago for the first time in several years. I am sure there are other things, but that is what immediately comes to mind. Story 61. Fast food. I was never big on this, but now it is more expensive than a local sit-down restaurant. Restaurants generally, costs per person have risen slightly, but that adds up for a family of 6. It costs at least $150 to eat a meal at a decent restaurant, which is basically our weekly grocery bill. Disney vacations. We used to go every year. Flight, resort lodging, meal plan, and admission were about $5,000 for 4 full days in 2019. This year it is $8,000. I can afford that, but I am not interested. Professional sports. I had Chicago Bulls season tickets as a kid and Indianapolis Colts season tickets with my first wife. Expensive but worth it. Starting around 2015, the season ticket experience shifted from treating customers well to treating them poorly. I am not interested in that. Philanthropy. Post-COVID-19, donor relations have declined sharply and continue to do so. In the last 5 years, I have heard more awful pitches than in the previous 20 years. Story 61. Massages with or without the happy ending are just too expensive. Or should I say everything else is too expensive, so now I don't have any extra money for massages. Story 62. Prepared food. With the price increases and outrageous tip expectations, I just do not go out to eat anymore. Story 63. I do wear Levi's jeans, but only because I like their boot cut. My shirts are off-brand polos and button-downs, whatever is on sale. My shoes are from an orthotics company that has good arch support. They have no labels. I do have some Carhartt items, but only because they make really tough clothing. I don't have any name-brand sneakers, jackets, shirts, watches, or anything else. The only name-brand item I buy is cologne, but I rarely spend more than $75 on a bottle, and I wear it sparingly. Story 64. Lawn mowing services. I need the exercise anyway, although I recently paid a high school student who was saving for a trip the same cost I was paying for the service. I mowed lawns in the 1970s to make $5 for arcades. I appreciate a kid saving for something. I will continue to use his services as long as he is willing to. Story 65. Cans of soda are just not worth the price. If I ever get soda, it is in those 2-liter bottles because they are a lot cheaper. Story 66. I used to really enjoy Xbox Game Pass and all the games it offers. The price then increased by $12 over 3 years. Goodbye. Time to go PC exclusive. Story 67. Going to a barber for a haircut. I bought a good pair of hair clippers for the price of one cut. I shave my head a few times a month. Fortunately, I look good with no hair and a full beard. Story 68. Ribeye steaks from Canada were previously sold as a 2-pack of 1.5-inch thick cuts for $40. The last time I checked at Costco, the same steaks and cut were priced at $109. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.